Hey friends, I'm Victoria. Welcome to my kitchen. Today we're doing something a little bit different and we're talking about bugs. That's right, you heard me. We're talking about bugs. We're talking about bug season. It's summertime, it's hot, and there's little blood-sucking vampires like mosquitoes and other things that we may want to keep an eye on. So I wanted to share with you today some of the things that I've been doing to help prevent getting bit, and that if I do get bit, which it's pretty much a guarantee, things that I do to help minimize the itch, make it feel less bad, and some things that just home remedies that I've done. So I'm going to be sharing with you a couple things today. First of all, I want to talk about bug spray. Then we're going to be talking about bug bite balm that I make, and I'm going to be sharing that recipe with you so that if you do get bit. And this magical ingredient, this magical thing that I've been doing if I do get bit as well, and you won't believe it, and I'm so excited to share it with you. First of all, why are we talking about this topic today? It's because bugs love me. I don't know if it's my blood type. I don't know if I'm extra stinky. I've done a bunch of research to figure out why mosquitoes in particular, but other bugs love me, and I get bit all the time. And I just have to say, that's just how I am. And actually, I was talking with my brother the other day, and he said, as a kid, you used to get bit all the time. There we go. I'm just special. So here's the deal. Before I go any further, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a medical professional. You make your own choices. These are just some things that have worked for me. But here's what I know. We are bombarded with toxic chemicals all the time. From pesticides that are put on our foods to things that are in a nicely manicured lawn. I was talking with my dentist, my new dentist, who I really like, and he was saying, he goes, oh yeah, the only solution for when mosquitoes are bad is DEET. And when someone tells me the only way to do something is this way, first of all, I don't believe them, and secondly, I don't follow their advice, because there's always more than one way to do something. So this is why I ended up making my own bug spray. I just got this bottle from the grocery store. It was like $1.50. They also have some cute little copper ones at the Dollar Tree. So if you need a spray bottle and you don't want to pay like $5, I don't know if you've seen some of them at Home Depot were like $8. Are you kidding me? This is $1.50. I just didn't want to pay that, so I got the $1.50 one. So let's talk about our homemade bug spray and what we're going to use. Here are the main ingredients, okay? Witch hazel, distilled water, and I use distilled because lesser of a chance for bacteria to form compared to tap water. So witch hazel, distilled water, glycerin, and vodka. And this is the base, and then you add essential oils from there. I try to reapply every 30 minutes because I figure if I don't smell like citronella, the bugs are gonna be like, oh, hey, hey girl, hey, where have you been, right? So this is my bug spray recipe. Try it, let me know what you think. And so I put together my own bug bite balm, and I'm gonna share with you the recipe because you should make your own, okay? So this is a color, it's yellowy green, and I used 4 herbs with this. I used calendula, plantain, chamomile, and lavender. And I'm gonna give you the recipe in just a second on how we're gonna make this balm. Here's the dealio. So it's good to have these things on hand. Like I said, if I'm outside doing something in the yard, let's say I get a scratch or I get a cut or whatever, and I have boys, by the way, so this is something in some shape or form. I've always been putting together herbal salves like this, because when they get a cut or whatever, I'm just like, slather that on, that'll be fine. I find this works better than Neosporin. Neosporin actually, I think, keeps the wound moist, and that is not a good thing. I feel like it's too goopy. It doesn't dry it out. It's so you're there and it kind of like continues to look kind of gross and mushy. So I don't like using Neosporin, but this I found is a great alternative. So what are we gonna put in here? We're gonna put in here our herbs, but also one of the things I wanted to mention was there's no water in this, okay? We're using 3 basic ingredients and herbs. We're using beeswax, coconut oil, shea butter, okay? If you can't use the coconut oil, that's cool. Pick olive oil or something like that. Just know it may not be entirely the same consistency. It may be a different consistency and a little bit less firm, and that's cool too. But those are the ingredients that I use. And then what I do is I take my coconut oil and I just steep my herbs in there. That's all I do. I mean, this is really easy peasy. You get these little containers from Amazon, and there you go, it's all good. So let's get going. I'm gonna show you my recipe on how I make this bug balm. You can use this on cuts and scrapes or whatever, but the intention for this balm is for it to be soothing. Lavender and chamomile are super soothing. Calendula, I've heard it referred to as nature's Neosporin. And plantain is a magical plant I'm going to tell you about in a second. And you wouldn't believe me if I told you it's actually a weed in your yard. Here are all the herbs we're going to use for our salve. We're going to fill our jar, and yes, this is a mayo jar that I've reused. We're going to fill our jar with our herbs first, and then we're adding coconut oil. I can guarantee it's hot enough in here that the coconut oil will already be liquefied. So we're going to do herbs first, and then pour in coconut oil, and we're gonna let it get happy for a couple weeks. Oh no, the calendula's getting all over. I'm not measuring this because I'm doing this for myself. If I were making this for a friend or sharing it with someone else, I would probably measure. Okay, I'm gonna keep rotating. So we're just gonna layer these. I go a little heavy on the calendula because it is so healing, and it's one of my favorites, but you'll figure out your favorite, and then go heavy on whichever one's your fave. So when my son was about 18 months, he had a really awful diaper rash that I was afraid was getting infected because it was so nasty. And I went to the pediatrician and said, what can we do about this? And he said, well, it's at the point where I recommend cortisone cream. And we started going cortisone. And I just didn't want to do that. And so I said, well, what are my other options? Well, that's what I recommend. Okay, so I went home and I started doing research on what herbs and plants are soothing for something like an eczema, because he was actually concerned that and maybe not a diaper rash, but more like eczema. And in my research, I found that plantain actually can be soothing for folks who have eczema. So I made a salve with calendula and plantain and added in, I had chamomile essential oil, added that in, and a couple other things. Wouldn't you know, his diaper rash went away. And since then, I've had a fondness for plantain. While I have the funnel on and it won't overflow, I'm just going to kind of mix these to make sure that the oil got all the way down to the bottom. Okay, cross your fingers it doesn't overflow when I take the funnel off. Ooh, that's full. That is full. That is really full. Okay, I'm gonna put my lid on. And I'm gonna leave it. I'm gonna leave this for a couple weeks, and then we're gonna strain it, and we're gonna use this as the basis for a healing salve. So here's our ingredients that we're working with. I have unrefined shea butter. You can get this like at a grocery store or lots of places, but it should be unrefined. So this is just one big hunk. We're gonna need to carve out some here. We have beeswax, and we have our herbal mixture. So how it's gonna go is 1 part beeswax, 2 parts of the coconut herbal mixture, and 3 parts shea butter to give it some creaminess. We may have to experiment a little bit with the different ratios, because the last time I made this, we did live in California, and I noticed that when we lived in California, I needed to use less wax than when we lived in Washington, and it was a more humid climate. So this is a little experiment. We're gonna see how it goes. So I think what I'm gonna do is 1/2 ounce, 1 ounce, and then the shea butter. So, and then we'll see how it goes. We're gonna let our wax melt first, and then we're gonna put in the shea butter, let that melt for quite some time, and then add in the oil. Okay, this little contraption I have here is called a bain-marie, and it's a bowl. Oh, ignore my messy, I need to clean my range. Okay, so it's a bowl on top of a saucepan, and there's water in here. The water's not touching the bowl. The point is to gently have everything melt in here. So if you have a double boiler, mazel tov, use that. I don't right now, so therefore I'm using the bain-marie. I think I'm gonna throw the shea butter in there, because the longer you let the shea butter melt, the less grainy it gets. Okay, about 15 minutes has passed. I'm adding in, this is our glorious coconut oil mixture. I'm just gonna make sure it's all mixed up. And then I'm gonna start steaming up the camera. Okay. And then I'm going to put it into some containers. Okay, here's another thing to keep in mind when you're dealing with bug season. There's a book called Naturally Bug Free or something like that. I'll put a link to it below and you can pick it up. This guy had some great ideas for if you don't want to cover yourself in DEET for the entire summer, how do you deal with mosquitoes? Now, what I'm holding is bentonite clay, and this is from Redmond. I also get their salt, which I think is amazing. So it's really not a big deal for me to, I like this brand, but you can get another generic brand as well. But what happens is, this is the same kind of clay that if you go in for a spa treatment, that they're gonna cover your face up, put little cucumbers on, and the clay is going to absorb all of the junk in your pores. And that clay actually helps you to have clearer skin because all of the bacteria and stuff in your pores that's causing zits, it gets absorbed by the clay. Well, here's the deal. If you get bit by something, make this up like how you would normally make it for a face mask and put it on your bite. And let me tell you, I got bit by something in my yard. And I'm very sensitive to, and like I said, mosquito, anything that's gonna bite me, the spot will just completely swell up. And I started doing this. I started taking a little bit of clay and putting it right on the bite, especially if I feel it, I'll go in and I'll put it right on the bite and just let it sit there and absorb for as long as it can. It does help cut the itch. And I feel like it does help with, you know, you healing from that bite. Now, I'm not a doctor. Go do your own research, okay? But what I will tell you is I have been keeping a little jar of this that's mixed up that is ready to go, especially for times that we're working in the yard. Now, something else you should know about this clay, this is a dry clay. Okay. So you're gonna mix this with water. And what I would do is take a little ceramic bowl and a plastic spoon or a wooden spoon. Just so you know, clay will oxidize metal, so don't use a metal anything. Don't use a metal spoon. So that's why I would get a plastic spoon. And I either use like a small jar or a small ceramic, like little ramekin or something like that. And that's what I mix it up in, again, with a plastic spoon. So go investigate and see if this is something that you would want to do at all and talk with your medical professional about that. But I really feel like, especially with the amount of times that I get bit, it's really helpful to have the clay already made up in my fridge. Oh, and just so you know, right now this is in a dry form. If you're going to use the clay, it's going to be in a wet form once you add water, clearly. You're going to want to keep that in your fridge because water introduces bacteria, and you could be putting bacteria on your skin. If you're not keeping it in a cold place, the bacteria doesn't like to live. I also don't keep the clay for more than a week. I mean, go ahead and ditch it. You have a ton of clay in this tub, okay? I think this was $13. I'm not positive, but I'll find a link somewhere so that I can put below the video. All right, friends, now that you've seen a couple ways that I combat bug season, comment below, leave me some tips. Let me know what you do. I have not seen a whole lot of chiggers in our area or ticks. It's mostly mosquitoes. However, in our lawn, I have been bit by some random things and we get big, huge monster spiders. If you have things like fire ants or something like that, diatomaceous earth will actually kill ants. So just sprinkle that right on the anthill and you're good to go. So, but comment below, let me know, what are you doing? Because I want to know some other things and maybe other essential oils and other things that I can do to make sure the bugs stay away for the rest of bug season. There's some other things you can do too, and that's put plants in your yard that mosquitoes and other bugs do not like. Mosquitoes don't like lemongrass. So I planted 2 lemongrasses this year and they're supposed to be fast growing, but let me tell you, I got 2 plants from Etsy and they're the smallest lemongrass you've ever seen in your life. So we'll see how that goes. So you can plant plants as well that bugs don't like. So lemongrass is a big one that mosquitoes don't like. A lot of bugs don't like lavender, and or you can keep them in a pot and put them in your front yard so that when you come in the door, the possibility of a little mosquito friend coming in with you is low. All right, friends, so I'm gonna put links below to make all of this stuff yourself, and you can get all the things you need on Amazon. I'm gonna put links to that. Again, I thought this little book was such a good reference, and it's not very expensive. It's a really, I thought it was a fun read. There are definitely creative ways that you can combat bug season without having the citronella candle next to you or having to hold a plant of lemongrass the entire season or whatever it is that might be. All right, friends, I hope that you're having a great summer. I hope that the bugs are leaving you alone and that you have a wonderful summer season. I'll be back next week with more cooking. Take care.